And good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to MSBS Weekly Guided Meditation by Phra Goh. Today is the 21st of February 2023. It's certainly good to see all of you once again this online platform. I'd like to extend a great welcome to all new viewers to this channel and those new followers in Zoom. Hi, Brother Dave. MSBS is very grateful to have us back with us with Phra Adhibalo. Phra was born on July 14, 1985 and was ordained under the Thai Theravada tradition of Thai Dhamma sect at Satipatthana Monastery, Johor, and spent first 5 rains retreat at various forest monasteries in Malaysia and in Thailand. Phra is currently the religious advisor to Buddhist Youth Network Singapore and has been with us on this Tuesday guided meditation since July 2020. This week we are continuing on the topic of against the stream. Now, without taking much time, I shall pass the mic over to you, Bante. Over to you, Bante.
Okay. Thank you, Terence, for the intro. So we're going to normally start off with some opening chanting. So we're going to first give 3 bows to the Buddha. First bow, second bow, and third bow. Start off with homage. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. 3 refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. And the 5 precepts. Panatipata viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccacara viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Suramiraya majjapamadatthana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so good evening to one and all. So we are continuing this topic called the Against the Stream. So we started the first lesson of this year last week. So this is the second lesson. So just a brief recap. We are just trying to define the terms what is against the stream. So the Buddha in this particular teaching talks about there are 4 kinds of people. We've covered 3 of them, so that's like in ascending order. So the first person is like the most deluded, right? The people who are trapped in samsara, likes pleasures, and gets pulled along the stream. And second person onwards, the person who wants to practice the Dhamma, once it goes against the stream. And the third and the fourth are various degrees of success, right, in practicing the Dhamma. Okay, so yeah, briefly go through the other slides. Right, so a person in the first one indulges in the senses, right, goes round and round, rebirth, probably for many, many more lifetimes until they meet the Dhamma. Okay, next. Then the second person who goes against the stream, right, so this one is like, let's say, a person who is at the beginning, right, they might face difficulties, right, when they want to fight against craving, fight against sense pleasure. They might be tearful or feel dejected, feel painful. So that's the process, you know. So it requires a person to see the benefit, or see the peace or happiness that weighs more than sensual pleasures in order to do this. If a person does not see any benefit in the Dhamma, they won't do this. And they just enjoy life. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the third kind of persons, or third group. So this one is quite firm already. They straight away talk about the third level of sainthood. Now they destroy the 5 lower fetters, 5 kind of chains. Fetters means chains, or 5 kinds of defilements. So interestingly, they sort of bypass the once returner. So I would presume the stream enterer and once returner is the same category, because once returner still haven't fully overcome greed and anger. So just briefly go through the 5 lower fetters. First is doubt in the Four Noble Truths. That means they haven't experienced this spiritual kind of happiness or peace. And the second one is clinging to identity view, and followed by clinging to these rites and rituals associated with this identity. And the fourth factor, greed, fifth one, hatred. So they overcome these 5 in order to be a non-returner. So this is a person, the third kind of person. Okay, next one. Okay, so today we are covering something new. So that's the fourth kind of person. So I'll just like briefly read the text. And what is the one who has crossed over and gone beyond? The Brahmin who stands on high ground. Yeah, so interestingly, Brahmin refers to anyone who is well practiced. Yeah, well practiced. So that's the Buddha's definition. It's not restricted to like any particular social class status. So it's more on the spiritual class status. So the Buddha reinvented or contextualized this term Brahmin. Here, with the destruction of the taints, some person has realized for himself with direct knowledge in this very life the taintless liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom. And having entered upon it, he dwells in it. This is called a person who has crossed over and gone beyond, the Brahmin who stands on high ground. Okay, so we're going to try to go through some of the terms. So destruction of the taints. So earlier on we talked about the 5 lower fetters. There are a total of 10. So if a person were to fully destroy all the taints, that would include the 5 higher fetters. So what are the other 5 that the fully enlightened being has to clear, or in this case an arahant has to clear? There's this thing called clinging to form concentration, clinging to form kind of rebirth. That means all the 4 jhanas. That means they have no more clinging to the 4 jhanas. That doesn't mean they don't do jhanas. They can do jhanas, but they don't cling. It's just like they operate normally with their sense doors. They still need to eat, they need to look around, they need to hear, they need to talk, but they do not cling onto sense pleasures. So likewise, they do not cling onto the form jhanas, and they do not cling to the formless jhana. That's the next factor they need to clear. So the 5th to the 8th jhanas, so they do not cling to these formless jhanas, and they overcome restlessness. So that means how do you call it? The mind running here and there is called restlessness. Doesn't stay still. Worry and restlessness. So some people, when they come for meditation class, they'll tell you, my mind like monkey, run here, run there. No matter how I sit, they run here, run there. So I'm not suited for meditation. So they want to give up. So only an arahant can overcome restlessness. So we still have room for improvement. So that's why we train. That's why we practice. So only an arahant overcome restlessness. So it's very normal if your mind sort of stray off, run away, daydream, and whatever not. Just bring the mind back. That means the mind hasn't developed enough kind of peace or happiness that is stronger than the stray thought. So the stray thought is part of sense pleasure actually. The things we daydream, fantasize, worry, it's part of the sense basis, sense pleasure. So that's the mind door. So when we imagine things, daydream, restless, the mind move around. So that's part of the sense door. When a person distracted by pain in the body, itch, sounds and neighbors disturbing, all these are sense doors. So clinging to how do you call it? This restlessness. So a person overcome restlessness, and the next one is the conceit of I am. So according to this Meghiya Sutta, Meghiya, so this conceit refers to the I am. So that is at least the sutta's definition of conceit. So earlier on, this stream enterer will overcome the lower factor of this identity view. So identity view is you associate yourself with something. For example, I am a Chinese, or I am a Singaporean. So that's identity view. Whereas conceit goes closer to the source, to the I itself, the self. Why do you feel you are you? So that is the conceit. So I am a human, for example. I am earthling, or I am a Singaporean. So it has two levels or 2 layers. So when I mention I am a Singaporean, the Singaporean is the identity. Whereas when the first word I, that is the ego, that's the conceit. So the person totally overcomes this conceit, right? So that is the next factor. And once a person overcomes this ego, that means they also completely understand the teaching. That means they overcome ignorance. So that's the last factor. So they totally understand the 4 noble truths. So early on, the lower factor, the stream enterer will have no more doubt in the 4 noble truths. They have a glimpse of it, but they do not fully understand the 4 noble truths. So only arahant, a fully enlightened being, will fully understand the 4 noble truths. So sometimes you go for Dhamma class, then you keep on hearing 4 noble truth, 4 noble truth, here and here, over and over again. This is not basic teaching. This is the entirety of Buddhism. So we may repeat many times, but that doesn't mean we can understand fully the 4 noble truths. So only an arahant, a fully enlightened being, can fully understand the 4 noble truths. So this is the destruction of the taints. Okay, so some person has realized for himself the direct knowledge. So this direct knowledge would mean experiential knowledge. That means direct seeing, direct knowledge. It's not hearsay from somebody, somebody say one, or you read from the books, and according to no, from what I understand, it is like this. From my readings or from what I hear say, no. So direct knowledge is you experience for yourself. So one of the quality of the Dhamma is this Dhamma is to be realized by the wise, each for themselves. Yeah, so it's because it's not like my teacher say one or somebody say one. So it is you experience for yourself the peace and the lack of anger, lack of greed. So this one is for yourself to experience. Okay, in this very life, so you have to wait for the next lifetime. So an arahant, they achieve it in this life, whereas the previous two categories, the second and third group, like this stream enterer, may require maximum 7 lifetimes. If they are more hardworking, maybe lesser than 7, and the let's say the once returner, 1 more lifetime. Non-returner also 1 more lifetime, but in a special place in heaven. So whereas arahant in this very lifetime. The taintless liberation of mind. Okay, so there's 2 terms. One is liberation of mind, and the other one is liberation by wisdom. So if I'm not wrong, the Pali word would be this Ceto Vimutti, liberation of mind, or some will translate liberation by awareness. Then the other one is Panya Vimutti, liberation by wisdom. So according to some commentaries, the liberation of mind, they will say, means a person have to practice first jhana all the way to the 8th jhana to sensation. Then they call this liberation of mind. Whereas liberation by wisdom means a person practice first jhana to 4th jhana, then they practice vipassana meditation until they reach full enlightenment. So that is the commentarial's explanation. But in the sutta, it's very different. So there's this particular sutta called the Panya Panya Vibhanga, analysis of this liberation by discernment. Is Panya Vimutti Vibhanga Sutta. Yeah, so it talks about this liberation by wisdom by entering all levels of concentration. First level of concentration, first level of jhana, a person can do their reflection and gain liberation, gain release, all the way to the 8th level of jhana, and beyond. So that is that particular sutta. So the sutta predates the commentary. So if you believe in the original teachings, then you have to just KIV the commentaries. So because of this particular sutta, I would reinterpret liberation of mind, liberation of awareness means through your observation. For example, in our meditation routine, we will, for example, ask you to observe the sensation and the 4 elements, whatever sensation that appear in your body, or mental energy, can be any sensation outside the body. If you just observe without any reflection or without any sub-vocalization, that is liberation of awareness. And that path are still not yet liberated, but means you are practicing this path of liberation of mind. That means you just observe these sensations, how it appears, how it disappears. So that is just observation only. So there's no reflection. So a person can reflect this sensation, appear, disappear, appear, disappear. Then they are practicing this liberation of mind. Whereas the liberation by wisdom requires labeling. You need to discern. So for example, if a person wants to practice both, liberation of mind and liberation of wisdom, they need to observe the appearance and disappearance of the sensation, and mentally they need to sub-vocalize. They need to take note. This sensation arise, this sensation disappear, this sensation arising, falling, arising, falling. So this is liberation by wisdom. That means you you take note. That means you discern. You're able to take note. And when the emotion change, when the state of mind change, let's say a mind expand, when the mind restrict, you know the difference. You pay attention to one small area, you pay attention to a larger area, expanded mind or restricted mind, or if a mind enter different levels of concentration, then you can take note also. So that is liberation sort of by wisdom, the path. So that is by analysis or investigation. So these are the two sort of different routes. So we kind of do both, which Singaporeans kiasu, right? So we do both. But if you want to do just one only, that's also fine. It's possible, but probably take a longer route. Yeah, so these are the terms, jargons in this particular paragraph, and having a third point, he dwells in it. So if a person enter any kind of a liberation, both will lead the same kind of liberation, which is cessation of craving, cessation of this desire. So a mind will enter a very peaceful state. Now we call this nibbana. So if a person sort of dwells in it, there are different terms. Some call this the signless concentration, no sign. The commentaries give a different term. They call it effortless or objectless samadhis. So this one, effortless, that means a person without, that means a person who achieved this without sort of putting effort. That means without reminding oneself to come back to the breath, or without reminding yourself to wish all beings well and happy, without reminding oneself to come back to the meditation object. It is already a natural meditation object. They can just do nothing and their mind really is at that state. So that is the final path. Yeah, so for beginners, or at least for trainees, I don't encourage people to do nothing in meditation, because that's what we do before we go to sleep. And before we go to sleep, we do nothing, and then we fall asleep. So if you do this in a meditation, chances the mind will have this restlessness, or you fall asleep. The 5 hindrances will kind of grab the mind and drag you away. So that's the problem. So enlightened person can afford to do nothing because they already reached the destination. So this is the person who crossed over and gone beyond, standing on high ground. So there's no currents trying to push him away. He's already on high ground. Okay, so that's the Arahant. Okay, next slide. So there's more description. So one who has comprehended things high and low, burned them up. That means they burn all the defilements away, so they are gone and exist no more. Okay, so this exist no more probably refer to this the defilements, they are gone and exist no more. Because first, you look at the first word, one, so it's talking about the noun, which is singular tense. And if you look at the they are, so this plural refers to these defilements, all the fetters. Okay, that sage who has lived the spiritual life reached the world's end. Yeah, it is, so basically the world is samsara, reached the world's end, that means gone beyond the circumference of this samsara, beyond the age of samsara. Is called one who has gone beyond. Right, so I'm going to revisit this word called exist no more, this term. So in Buddhism, we do not believe in annihilism. Annihilism. So there's some people believe in eternalism. We want to exist forever. That's one stance. It's a kind of Pali we call it bhava tanha. That means you want that state, you want that status quo forever, be it non-concentrated state or concentrated state. They want that lifestyle forever, so that's bhava tanha, eternalism. Then the other extreme is called annihilism. You want to do not exist. So that is aversion, want to get rid, want to remove. So these are another extreme called the vibhava tanha. And then of course there's yeah, the other extreme would be craving for sensual pleasure. So total there are three kinds of extremes, three kinds of cravings mentioned in the first discourse of the Buddha, right? So so when this term mentioned, gone and exist no more, is referring to the fetters, are not referring to that particular being. Okay, so we move on to the next slide. So this is actually a new chapter, new teaching. So any questions at the moment from anyone before I proceed? Okay, if not, I'm going to continue the story. So this is another sutta from the Iti Vuttaka. So it's called a river. Suppose a person was being carried along by a river current that seems nice and pleasant. If a person with good eyesight saw them, they'd say, "Mister, even though the river current carrying you along seems nice and pleasant, downstream there is a lake with waves and whirlpools." Okay, all the danger. Salt water, crocodiles, and monsters. When you reach there, it will result in death or deadly pain. Then, when they heard what was said, they paddled against the stream using their hands and feet. Right? So this is the story. It's an analogy. It's a metaphor for something. So because our theme is going against the stream, so now let's move on to the next slide and see what are all these different metaphor means. Okay, so so the Buddha is trying to make a point. So I've made up this simile to make a point, and this point, the stream, is a term for craving, which is our desires. Seeming nice and pleasant is a term for the 6 interior sense fields. Yeah, so that means our sense door. 6 interior sense field: your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So that is your 6 senses. A downstream lake is a term for the 5 lower fetters. So we've discussed this earlier, the 5 kinds of defilements. Danger of waves is a term for anger and distress. Whirlpool is a term for 5 kinds of sensual stimulation, right? The sense kind of pleasures. If I'm not wrong, it means the 5 kinds of feelings. You have pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neutral feeling, and it occurs mentally and physically. So these are the 5 kind of sensual stimulation. If you have any other kind of definition, do let me know. Sensual stimulation. So you can find this in the Satipatthana Sutta, the mindfulness of feelings. So there are 5 kinds of feelings. Saltwater crocodiles and monsters is a term for females. Okay, so this particular audience are for monks. So basically anybody in the opposite gender are these monsters, saltwater crocodiles and monsters. So against the stream is a term for renunciation. Okay, so a person who wants to get away from temptation, then they try to paddle, right? Paddling with hands and feet is a term for being energetic, right? So paddle against the stream. A person with good eyesight is a term for the realized one. That means a person who can see, right, all these suffering it entails. The perfected one, the fully awakened Buddha, right? So this is the definition for the against the stream, and hopefully throughout the entire year, so this will be kind of the theme. So basically any teaching that involves going against craving, or basically that's the entirety of Buddhism, would kind of fit this theme and this theme for this year. Okay, so I think that's the end of the slide, right, Terence? Oh, still have. Okay. The Buddha spoke this matter, and this it is said. In pain, they give up sensual pleasures, aspiring to the future sanctuary. With deep understanding and heart well freed, they experience universal liberation. That knowledge master who has completed the spiritual journey and gone to the end of the world is called one who has gone beyond, same as the previous sutta. Okay, so yeah, that's the end, I suppose. Any more slides after this? Yeah, that's the end. Okay, so I open the ground for Q&A. So normally we have like half an hour of theory. I don't want too much theory to prevent brain damage. Okay, anyone has anything to ask?
Bante,
Yeah.
good evening. Yeah, good evening to Bante and everyone.
Hi, Roy.
Yeah, Bante, got a question to ask. I understand the topic of against the stream. Just that, for laymen like us, right? It's now you're saying that just now the earlier slide is meant for monks. So for us laymen, right? We still experience this kind of 6 factors and so on. So how, as a layman myself, how would I how would I face these things? Should I like completely, like example, don't see movie, I don't go travel, something like that. So I'm not too sure how it is applicable to a layman like myself.
Yeah, I would recommend for a layperson first get the foundation well with the 5 precepts. If you can really live comfortably with the 5 precepts, then you slowly upgrade, upgrade to 8. Yeah, so start with the 5. If a person is still struggling with the 5 precepts, then I think don't kind of push yourself too far yet. Yeah. Slow conditioning. I don't have to push yourself. If not, some people have burnout.
Okay, so slowly upgrade means
yes, that's right.
Step by step, right? So that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Bante.
Okay, no problem. Anyone else?
Bante.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay, one of the 5 precepts that I understood, right, is that the one should not take lives, right? But I read in, I watched other Theravada lectures as well, and I understood from a few of them that this understanding of not taking lives is a little bit difficult to achieve even for ordained monks who are on the homeless journey, right? So while going for alms round and everything, you may have to depend on whatever there is available to you by the followers, right? And this may then, result in people offering meat to monks, right? So then it was clarified in some of the lectures that in the original Nikayas, Buddha did not actually abstain monks from eating meat, right? So pertaining to this precept of not taking lives, right? What is the exact so-called understanding and exact right way to really follow this precept? Do one truly need to be a vegetarian, or how does it work? Do enlighten me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Yeah, this is a common but important question also. So for precept, the idea of having the precept is to eventually train the mind, to train the mind. So the Noble Eightfold Path, we have this, the symbol of a wheel. So all the spokes of the Eightfold Path are linked together. So we have this, besides right speech, right action, right livelihood, we also have right thought, right understanding. So that is very important. So one of the, we said, breaking the precepts, we require a few criteria. There are some criteria to break a precept. First is intention. is your intention to harm or kill that being? Yeah, so that's the first one. So if let's say for those who take meat, they will say that because they have no intention to kill that being, it's already there in the market, or it's already dead, so they purchase it. So in that sense, they do not fulfill the criteria of killing. So that is the first one. Then second one, to break the precept, you need to perceive. So that's perception. You know that is a living being. So if let's say a person, let's say nowadays, the computer game very violent, a lot of shooting and killing of those AI or whatever, computer simulated characters. So we know that is just a visual object, it's not a real being. So let's say a person can play for many hours, but they do not commit the precept of killing. They haven't committed the precept of killing. They just killing images in the screen. So that is the second point. But of course, if they do it with hatred, they're still producing bad karma. So that's the second point, perception. Third is execution. Execution. You yourself have to take the weapon or use whatever means to kill it, or order somebody to kill it. For example, the seafood restaurant, the lobster is still swimming, and then you tell the chef or the waiter, hey, I want to eat this. Then they scoop up for you and they kill it for you to eat. So that is also breaking the precept, because there's execution, intent and execution, right? And next criteria, the being must die. The being must die. So if the being is dead, then you fulfill everything, fulfill all the criteria, then that is breaking the precept of killing. Yeah, so the whole idea of the precept is to train the mind. There are two factors. One is the spiritual part, the spiritual aspect, which is mental development, and the other one is the mundane aspect. In your life, are you living in harmony? Are you creating trouble? So the precept is to having harmonious living in both. So you need to find a moderation. So we generate right thought, that's good, but some people may not be aware of the culture, for example. So they may say something offensive or act something that deem offensive. Then, for example, your question, if a person eat meat, if let's say that community, the whole monastery, for example, is practicing vegetarianism, then if let's say a person insists, hey, according to the old suttas, eat meat is allowed, then you purposely buy KFC into the monastery compound and eat. So even though the monastery, the rules is to be vegetarian, so you're not creating harmony in that community. So even though the intention, there's no killing involved, but it's not in harmony. So when we talk about practicing the Dhamma, we talk about eventually leading to a peace, leading to this peace. So we need to assess both internally and also the external situation. So hopefully that answers your question. Some of the Theravada communities, or rather most of Theravada communities, they still practice meat eating, because the monks do not have financial power. And the monks, if they go for alms round, they do not buy the food, right? So whatever being put in the bowl, we have no choice, so we eat. But for a lay person, you all have the purchasing power. So it's really up to you. If you believe that being vegetarian can help the world, make it a better place, then by all means, then you buy vegetarianism. So for the monks, if you put in vegetarian food, we also eat, no problem. Yeah, so this is for the Theravada monks, we live sort of dependent on the kindness or the donation of others. Yeah, unless that particular Theravada community say, okay, strictly vegetarian only, which also have these such communities. If not, most of us are kind of flexible. So sometimes when people ask me, what kind of diet I have. Say I'm flexitarian. Flexitarian, so whatever you offer, I just eat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Bante.
Okay, no problem.
Bante, I have a question.
Yeah.
I think was it today? Yeah, I read something in the Yahoo News. It's about this. I think she's an American woman.
Mm.
Yeah, she was shot by another woman in the car park over some argument.
Mm.
But after that, this woman who had shot her, I think she was remorseful and also regretted over what she had done.
Mm.
She actually turned into the police.
Mm.
So in such cases like that, is it considered also she really broke the precept?
Did she take the precept in the first place?
But I mean, even she didn't take the precept. Yeah.
There's definitely bad karma involved. No, if there's ill intention to harm somebody, no, there is karma created. Yeah, both mentally and even in bodily. They carried out action already. Yeah.
So it's actually she realized that it's out of anger that she killed a person. So
yeah, if they draw out the weapon and no point at somebody, then there's already intent. Yeah.
Oh, so which means that it's still she also had really incurred a very very negative karma.
Yeah, definitely there's bad karma involved. No, then how the karma ripens, we do not know. Yeah, so maybe no, turning to the police.
Even though she owns up.
Yeah, even though she owns up, that's it may or may not fully ripen the negative karma.
Yeah. Thank you, Bante.
Okay, all right.
Bante.
Yeah.
What if, like, let's say we are, just now you said if the person taking the precept or not. So if like this person taking precept and this person not taking precept, is there any difference in like the karma that they created?
Yeah, so a person who choose to take the precept is like you're making a determined effort to prevent creating this unwholesome karma, that's all. So the for example, a person who make an effort to remind themselves to drive slower if they are on dangerous road or on, let's say, in a rainy weather. Yeah, so if let's say a person want to make this like a vow, then they they write it on their windshield, drive slower when on the road. So if let's say they forget and they continue to speed, so whether they make the vow or not, and if they meet an accident, they meet an accident.
Okay, Bante, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Bante, I have a question.
Okay, yeah.
So the non-returner, right? They experience their next life in one of the heavenly realms. But we also learned that actually, isn't it most fortunate to be born in the human realm, because that's when you can realize the Dhamma and practice, as opposed to in the heavenly realm when people are usually too happy to practice. So actually, why is it better to, why is that considered better than being once returner, where you return to the human realm?
Yeah, so I think that sometimes there's interpretation or maybe some misinformation about this being reborn in a human is considered more fortunate than being reborn in a heavenly realm. I think in the suttas it's mentioned being born as a human is very rare. The Buddha gave an example. If he were to scoop, you go to a river and there's a bank. That means the bank of a river, there's lots of sand, right? So he used his fingernails to scoop the sand, and he asked his monks, which is more, the sand in his fingernails or the sand throughout the bank of this river. So the monks told him, the sand along the banks of the river is more than the one in your fingernails. So the Buddha gave this analogy to say that being reborn as a human compared to the other lower realms, all those hell realms, animal realms, hungry ghosts, they are a bit like all the sand in the banks of the river. So that's like the comparison, right? But I don't think he mentioned that being reborn as a human is better than being born as a deva. But again, in whichever realm we are born, be it human or deva, there's also a spectrum of different kind of we call condition, peer support conditions. Some places, let's say, even if you're reborn as a human, it could be a war-torn area, it could be a disaster-prone area. A person may not have a chance to even meet any kind of spiritual teachings or teacher or peers. So that is the let's say for the human realm. So vice versa for heavenly realm, they can be too complacent, too much enjoyment. They have no urge and no desire to even practice any Dhamma. So that is for heavenly realm. But in some cases, there are certain communities in supposedly heaven. This particular pure abode, these beings are free from greed and anger. So they have no more desire in a way. So they live up there. So the only thing they're interested is reaching this ultimate peace. So they, in a way, all of them are practicing. So if a person is reborn in that heaven and everybody is practicing, so you are kind of you're kind of together with that company. So that's the benefit. And if let's say other devas in other realms, I would give an analogy of, like, for example, this Zoom meeting. So because heavenly beings, they have special powers. They before this Zoom is invented, they can just make a wish. Okay, which place have Dhamma talk? They use their divine eye. They just look around. Or this planet, or this earth, or some other realm, somebody teaching Dhamma or teaching meditation or whatever. Then they can just teleport there. Or they don't have to teleport there. They use their divine ear and just listen in, right? Or they whatever method they try to listen. So that was their sort of the heavenly Zoom kind of function. So that is what they've been doing. So again, so it depends on each person's inclination. So there's no how do you call it? Plus point being a human over a deva depends on which community you're on, what kind of conditions you have. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Any questions?
I'm really sorry. I have a question about. Sometimes when I see insects, I'm not in the intention to kill them. I just want to chase them off. But I think many a times I was not gentle enough, so I accidentally had them killed. And one day, I took the precepts from you, right? Yeah. I hope I didn't incur so much karma.
Yeah, if there's no intention to kill, you're just like trying to chase them away. There's no intention to I want to get rid of you, then you never break the precept.
So I mean, if I really accidentally kill them, I will just always say to them, may you be free from suffering, because I really don't have no intention to kill them. It's just like sometimes you see them around, it's a bit irritating, and then some when there are ants around, you really feel very irritated, so you just try to chase them away. Then definitely you kill them. So the only thing I can remind myself always be very careful. Don't leave food lying around. Then you don't get the ants there. But I'm just very sorry that sometimes you out of my mind. I just try to be fast, rush up, cleaning up. I did kill some of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the main thing is what we're training is the intention. So if there's no intention, it's okay. But so we are going to work more on the external skillful means. External skillful means. Yeah. But again, whether these ends will forgive the killer, that's a different story. Sometimes it depends on which realm they're reborn. If they're able to read your mind, then if let's say there's no intention to kill, I think it's easier to forgive. Yeah.
I hope so, Bante. I really have no intention to kill anything. Right? I'm already a vegetarian. I don't wish to harm any lives at all. Yeah. Of course, like I already followed you quite a while already. Of course, I wish everybody well, yeah, and happy. So I really have no intention of killing. So I really hope that I'm forgiven for that.
Okay.
Thank you, Bante.
All right, Sadhu. Okay, anyone else? Any questions? Okay, if there's no questions, then we go for a 5-minute break. No, it's 9:23 on my clock, so 5 minutes back. We take a break and we come back for the guided meditation. We need to raise the wholesome state of mind, maybe some joy in listening to the Dhamma. So that's also part of the cultivation. If the mind is too dry or too rushed from somewhere else, too scattered, then a bit hard to focus. Okay, so we just treat it as a warm-up. So you find a comfortable sitting position. Make sure your back is upright, rest of the body relaxed. And we are going to feel the sensations of the body from head to toe. We call this mindfulness of the 4 elements. So the 4 elements are the earth, fire, wind, and water elements. So the earth element represents any hard or soft sensations. Fire would be hot and cold sensations. Wind is any kinds of fast or slow movements. And the water element represents moist or dry kind of sensation. So we do not purposely create any sensation, we just observe. Earlier on we talked about the path of awareness, release, liberation by mind. So we just observe, real-time observation, no need to fight, no controlling, no rejection, no clinging on. We just observe it real-time. But in the meantime, we also need to apply right thought, part of the Eightfold Path. So when we meet any new sensation, we wish them well and happy. So we make peace with them. So it kind of facilitates in not struggling with the sensation. So it's kind of like a reminder. So new sensation arise, we wish it well and happy. New sensation arise, we wish it well and happy. So the sensations are like the waves and currents. So we talk about against a stream. So these sensations are part of the clinging aggregates. So if we do not paddle against a stream, we'll get naturally, most people will get flushed down by the stream or the currents. So to paddle, we need to apply the right thought. Wish it well and happy, thoughts of non-anger. And new sensation arise, well and happy. New sensation arise, well and happy. So when the mind is tense or agitated, that's following the stream. And how do you know that you are sort of paddling against the stream? Is when the mind is calmer, getting calm. And if you're able to differentiate that, so that's the path of wisdom. that is actually uncovering one layer of the Four Noble Truths. Any kind of clinging, any greed or hatred will cause this tension and stress, or this called suffering. And every time we reduce this craving, then we have this peace, or different levels of peace. Okay, and if your mind is relatively calm, then kind of take note of this state of mind. So this state of mind can be sort of achieved in most or all meditation objects, as long as we calm down, so there's no concentration, no insight at this point, just baseline level. So now we are going to wish all beings in all directions well and happy. So there's no need to push the mind. Any pushing is a kind of craving, and it causes tension. So you do not push. So just a gentle wish. We let the mind expand naturally by itself. And also no need to visualize. The more we visualize means more currents, opening more flood and currents to the sense doors, harder to pedal. So what we are going to do is we perceive all beings non-discriminatively. All beings are made of these four elements and the five aggregates. So whenever we detect any sensation near or far, inside the body, outside the body, we are going to wish all beings well and happy. So instead of just wishing that sensation well and happy, we wish all beings well and happy. So we slightly change the phrase. We wish all beings well and happy. So when you observe a new sensation arise, all beings well and happy, then when you detect a new sensation arise again, may all beings be well and happy. So you keep paddling. So the only time we enjoy rowing, paddling against the stream is when there's incentive. So let's say the mind starts to calm down, and if you experience any increment in the emotion of joy and happiness from the baseline emotion earlier, then one may enter this first level of concentration. So we talk about renunciation. It's actually a mental renunciation. And regardless of what you experience, continue to wish all beings well and happy. Keep pedaling. Any kind of emotion are just passing sceneries. We do not stop. We just take note. They are just like landmarks or checkpoints. Passing the checkpoint doesn't mean you're safe. Continue to roll. The currents are still there. And now we are going to add some insight, some wisdom, and we're going to reflect on impermanence. All these sensations, all beings, all phenomena arise and pass away. So aside from observing these sensations appearing and disappearing, we also need to sub-vocalize, like a mantra, keep repeating whatever label you want to use: arising and passing, impermanence, change. Just pick your favorite and keep reflecting, kind of promote this wakefulness. It's like when a person having this dragon boat race, then they shout when they pedal. So it's something like that, giving commands when you pedal. So that's the sub-vocalization part. Okay, and if that happy or joyful emotion is gone and you get neutral but refreshing kind of emotion, then that would indicate equanimity. So in this case, both kinds of equanimities, jhanic equanimity and also some insight equanimity due to impermanence. And regardless of what you experience, keep rowing the boat. The mind calm or stormy. Calm is the best time to row the boat actually. So keep rowing, mindful of impermanence. Okay, then next we are going to the second sublime state, which is compassion. So for compassion, we wish all beings may they be free from suffering. So all beings cling on to these aggregates and the elements, and they, get flushed down the stream all the time and face lots of suffering. So anytime we detect any sensation, any current, any element, we are going to wish all beings may they be free from suffering. So new sensation appear, may all beings be free from suffering. New sensation appear, may all beings be free from suffering. So the more you keep paddling, wishing all beings may they be free from suffering, and the mind should settle down, and one may experience again this joy and happiness, indicative of the second level of concentration. So that is a concentrative kind of compassion, recharging the mind. But if the mind is geared towards, this person so poor la, this person suffering la, then that is the mundane kind of, I would say, empathy, not really compassion. And if you overdo it, then you get lots of sorrow, depression. And regardless of what you experience, continue to wish all beings free from suffering, and may they be free from suffering. Then we're going to add some insight, some wisdom, how to free from suffering, and how to really practice compassion. That is to not get flushed into the crocodiles. So we need to get out to the high ground first before we save someone else. So that's basic first aid or lifeguard kind of principle. Make sure you're in advantageous position and free from danger. So we need to keep reflecting on impermanence. And keep paddling against the stream, all these sensations, how they arise and pass away. And we keep reflecting on impermanence. Okay, and if that joy or happy emotion is gone, then one may experience a kind of blank or spacious kind of sensation. So that would indicate this perception of infinite space. And regardless of how blank or whatever you experience, continue to keep reflecting on impermanence. Keep rowing the boat. So the journey against the stream is a very long journey. And to reach the end of the stream on this high ground, you need to keep paddling. Okay, and before we conclude, same gentle reminder from the Karaniya Metta Sutta that as long as we maintain this boundless, sublime states, be it standing, sitting, walking, or lying down, that's the noblest living. So we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session. When we open our eyes, the currents are still there, so we still need to keep rowing or keep paddling against the stream. Generate right thought all the time. Okay, any issues, any problems? If not, then we do the concluding chant. Okay, Anumodana, dedication of merit. Akasata cha bhumata devanaga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva cirang rakantu loka sasanang etavata cha amhihi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe bhuta sabbe sata anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Dedication of marriage to the departed. Idang minyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang minyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang minyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. And aspiration. Imina punya kamina mami bala samagamo. Sadang samagamo hotu yavani bana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yeah, then we pay respects to the Buddha 3 times. First bow. Second bow. And the third bow. Okay, right. So that's it. Any announcements from Terence?
No, Bante.
Okay, if not, then we'll see you next week, and good night.
Thank you, Bante. Good night.
Thank you, Bante. Good night.
Terence.
Good night.